Wales edge a 10th affair in Cardiff. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. This one full of drama, but certainly not full of quality. Wales start off fairly well, applying pressure early on. They're on the try line. They're picking and going. Japan putting bodies on the line to keep them out. Wales then, they look to move it. Dan Edwards, lovely step, shrugs off the tackle of Saito before stepping another couple of tacklers and over to score. He converts his own try for 7-0. Japan then break on the turnover. Sato with a strong carry up to the 22. They move the ball left to right. Ishida in space goes over in the corner, converted for 7 points all. Japan then come again, applying pressure, but pass the ball straight into touch. Then Uluiviti goes to the bin, taking out man off the ball. Japan down to 14, but they're the ones that force a penalty. Lido off target from the tee. Makisi then joins Uluiviti in the bin. High hit on Edwards. That one goes to the bunker for review. So Japan now down to 13. Wales can't take advantage of the 2 men extra. There is a break from Rhys Sammet, but the ball gets knocked on and he wasn't really looking for where his support was. The guy has great wheels, but awareness, maybe it's time out of, rugby union, maybe has dampened that a little bit. And then Japan, during this period, still looking the better of the 2 teams. We've heard that the yellow for Makisi will stay a yellow. And then just before the break, we have another TMO review. This one, a clear out by Josh Adams. He's gone into the ruck with a tucked arm and made contact with the head and, with his shoulder. It doesn't, he'd no need to do it. I guess it was just frustration because the ball had been lost already. He goes to the bin and it goes to the bunker. Looks like it's going to be a 20-minute red card. Half time is 7 points all. At the beginning of the second half, then we do find out that Adams' yellow has been upgraded to a red, so he won't be returning to the field. And Wales, that was just before half time, so they've about another 17 minutes with a man down. Japan then on top, they force a penalty. Lee strokes it over for 10-7. Wales then come forward. They go to the corner from a penalty, work it to the line, moving it right out to Rhys-Sama, and he scores in the corner, converted from the touchline, 14-10. Wales then not rolling at the restart, and Lee makes a 14-13 from the tee. Thomas Williams then with hands on the floor at a ruck, and Japan kicked to the corner. Wales managed to sack them all, but Japan work it a couple of metres out before Makisi forces his way over, converted for 20 points to 14. Wales, now they win a penalty at the restart. They, real good chance for them to go to the corner. We're playing advantage then off the back of that. They go infield and they're kind of switching between infield and back to the touchline, back and back. And, it kind of drags the Japanese defense around a bit. And Tompkins, on for the red card at Adams, he gets over to score. The conversion puts them ahead 21-20. But then Wales concede a penalty at the restart. Neither of these teams, restarts are going to be something to absolutely work on. Both of them were terrible. Lee nails the kick for 23-21. More pressure from Japan. They get another penalty. Wales get a warning for the number of penalties they're conceding. Japan decide to go to the corner, but then they knock on as they set up the maul. And, it was a tight angle for, and a bit out as well for a shot at goal. You can see why they maybe decided to do that. Wales then on attack. Edwards through a half gap, recycled a few times, and, they don't really look after the ball. ball kind of squirts out of the back of the ruck between Williams's leg. He tries to flick it to one of his own players, but he just puts it into no man's land. And Japan then are able to counter from that. Wales just about snuff the attack out, but Japan are now back into that Welsh 22. Wales then they manage to turn it over, hack it downfield, and you feel like the team that can have just a long enough period with no errors is probably gonna win the game, because it's going back and forth, but it's not really brilliant defending that's breaking the moves down. It's like a lot of knock-ons. There is some good defending in there as well, but there's a lot of kind of mistakes happening. Japan then win a penalty just inside the Welsh half. Lee, at that moment, he's told his gum shield is triggered. He's got to go off for an HIA. I wonder, it was just about inside the half, but it was central. I wonder if he would have had a shot at the post. We'll never know. But they decided they're going to go up the line. They're untidy at the line out, and Saito gets forced in touch by Plumtree. Wales then, they need to get into scoring position, but all the play in these last few minutes is happening in the Welsh half. They do finally get over halfway, then they knock on with 10 seconds left. But we do have a TMO check for a high hit on man that we'd seen in the build-up, and we do come back to that. And it's Hawking shoulder to head via the chest. Its yellow card goes to the bunker. I'm not sure, whether it got upgraded or not, because it was right at the end of the game. I think because I hit maybe head or chest first and then went up the head, maybe it won't get upgraded, would be my kind of initial thoughts on that. But it is a penalty to Wales. They go up the line to the edge of the 22 from that. They go to the maul. The maul's kind of stop-start, and the referee is telling them, get ready to use it, but then they'll have another surge forward, and eventually they get it right up to the line, and Japan concede a penalty. So straight away, Wales point to the post. Evans, he's just on for Edwards. He now has his kick to win it for Wales, and he kind of keeps it low, but he slots it, and Wales win the game 24 points to 23. Yeah, so like you can imagine, like Wales just absolutely erupted after that. First win in Cardiff for 2 years, and they seem like they're a rugby nation under siege. And I don't think they've really lifted the siege, but they certainly have created a bit of a respite for themselves, and a bit more of that feel-good factor as well around Tandy taking over. So let's talk about each of the teams. Japan, they've got that fast ruck speed. They're looking to play with ambition, but they don't have that kind of precision to allow them to do that at times. There's a lot of kind of knock-ons and misalignments and stuff like that. They do have, out wide two Inishida and Asada, two very elusive runners as well, that they're trying to get the ball to space, and that works for them up to a point, but once they make the break, they don't really have any follow-up to it, and that's normally when the mistakes and the knock-ons come, is when they reset from those kind of positions. And yeah, like it looks like basically they're trying to play the way they did kind of at their peak around 2015 to 2019 kind of era, but they don't have the personnel up to the same level as that team. But it's good that they're showing ambition. But it feels like there has to be a bit more in terms of just the accuracy, and I think the fact that they don't have a Super Rugby team anymore is affecting them as well. That they don't have that ability to have the whole squad together, playing at a really high level, training together week in, week out, and being able to kind of perfect the way that they want to play. I think that was a big boom for them during that period when they were, exceptionally good. At this stage, they're not at that level at the minute, and it's hard to see if they're going to get there, with the current coaching structure and the current players that they have. But still, they can be competitive in games, and they were very competitive in this game, albeit again, against a Wales team who themselves have had even more strife over the last couple of years than Japan have. Then on to Wales. Now, the fact that they've won is going to be hugely uplifting for them. Some really good, shifts in defence as well from them when they were under a lot of pressure. But the fact that they were under pressure against 13 men in that first half has to be a worry as well. That they can't generate that momentum themselves. They don't really have those hard carriers to kind of get them a bit of a platform. And as well, plenty of errors from them. Some poor decision making as well. But they're at that stage. They're not at that stage now where they're looking for, everything to be absolutely right and just be tweaking things. They're in that position where they just need to win and win by any means. And that's what they've done today. So you have to give them credit for that. And you have to give Steve Tandy credit for that as well. It's going to be a big G up for them in terms of the World Cup seedings. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. These two teams were vying for kind of to stay in the top 12 and, get a decent seeding for the World Cup and not have two big teams in their pool. But rugby is rugby, right? And I would not be surprised if they actually both end up in the same World Cup pool anyway, when the draw is made. We'll have to see what happens with that. But yeah, this game, just in summary, felt like what it was. It played out the way it was, which is a game between two teams who've been in very poor form recently.